A freshman college student reluctantly participates in his friend's contest to see who can get with the most women by the end of the semester. However, when men all over town start disappearing, they suspect the sudden influx of beautiful blonde female students may have something to do with it. On a cold, snowy night, a beautiful woman named Delia makes out with a guy inside a car. All of a sudden, a police officer interrupts the tryst to ask Delia if the man she's with isn't pressuring her into doing anything she doesn't want to, so she assures him that their activities are consensual. After the cop leaves, the couple resumes the deed. The man's excitement quickly turns into horror when tentacles erupt from Delia's torso and pins him down. One tentacle opens its mouth filled with sharp teeth, and the terrified man screams. The following day, Professor Erwin Buckton teaches a college class about evolutionary biology. He argues that a superior species can easily overthrow humans as the dominant predators and states that they take over mankind due to their more advanced capabilities. Before dismissing the students, Buckton introduces his teaching assistant, Luke Callahan, who will be in charge of helping struggling students in his class. Stephanie Baxter ogles him while her friend, Sam Compton, comments that Luke is out of her league. As the class ends, Luke looks out the window and spots Constance Snowden, an alien he thought he had previously vanquished. He shakes his head to clear his mind and realizes it was only a vision. Meanwhile, Stephanie and Sam talk about meeting their potential soulmates in college. Later, Sam plays video games with his roommates Henry Robbins, Peter Brunson, and Nick Dean. They argue that Stephanie and Sam can never just be friends because male-female platonic friendships are a myth. However, Sam dismisses their opinions because he and Stephanie have been best friends since middle school. In the hospital, Luke sees his psychiatrist, Dr. Alana Geisner, and shares his visions about beautiful female aliens who've come to Earth to reproduce. He then states that their body temperatures drop below zero during mating, causing their partners to freeze to death. Geisner asks him if he believes his dreams to be true, but Luke explains that the women were a cult who murdered the men they slept with. He recalls how his then-girlfriend turned into an alien when they were doing the deed. Luke was brought to the hospital after the incident and, even now, still wonders how he survived. Geisner hands him medication to help him with his anxiety and visions. Meanwhile, Sam's friends have categorized every female student on campus to determine who's hot and who's not. They plan to compete with each other to see who can get with the most ladies by the end of the semester. Sam detests their plan, but is forced to participate because he's single and he doesn't have a steady girlfriend. That night, Jasmine is pulled over by a cop for driving over the speed limit. While the police officer returns to his car, Jasmine follows him into the vehicle and forcibly kisses him, determined to reproduce. Concurrently, Sam and his friends drive toward a party. Back in the cop car, the police officer's colleagues are baffled to find their fellow cop seemingly frozen to death. Sam and his friends drive by the crime scene and wonder what happened when Delia passes by and gives them a wink. Later, the boys arrive at the party to commence their contest. Nick quickly strikes up a conversation with a woman, but Henry and Sam aren't as successful. Elsewhere, Stephanie walks alone towards her dorm, where she's suddenly intercepted by Luke, who mistook her for Constance. As an apology for spooking Stephanie, he walks her back to her dorm and explains that Constance was an old acquaintance who did terrible things to his best friend. Unbeknownst to the pair, the real Constance is watching them. Moments later, Delia and Jasmine meet up with her, and Constance warns them to dispose of their victim's body so the police won't be able to track them. Constance informs the others that Luke survived his girlfriend's attack, likely due to him being in love. She explains that if they want their mates to survive the reproductive process, they'll need to attract them with passion and romance. Meanwhile, at the dorm, Nick arrives to announce that he now has 1 point on the scoreboard. However, the others don't believe him, so Henry proposes they record themselves doing the deed to keep an accurate score. Later that night, Henry goes outside to have a snack when he runs into Delia. She flirts with him, and when she gets close enough, Delia holds his head steady to stare into his eyes and access his thoughts, hence finding his intimate fantasy. She discovers his fixation with leopard print and changes her clothes to a tight-fitting printed outfit. Delia then tries to force herself on him, but the chaste Henry pushes her off and runs back to the room. The following day, Constance visits Professor Buckton in his office in the guise of a doctor. She asks him about Luke, and the professor has nothing but high praises for him. Constance then falsely warns him that Luke tends to behave abnormally and is often paranoid about aliens. She then asks Professor Buckton to update her regarding Luke's strange behavior and to keep the conversation between them. Arnold Steiner, an old friend of Sam's, bursts into the dorm room and pleads with them to join their competition. They initially decline, but Arnold manages to persuade them by promising to buy them booze. The friends make Arnold swear not to tell anybody else about the competition, but Arnold wastes no time and tells several male schoolmates, who are also eager to participate. To monetize the event, the roommates charge a fee for inclusion in the challenge. In the library, Arnold tells Sam of his love for leather-clad dominant women. He plans to attract such women with strong olfactory pheromones and sprays himself with synthetic bull musk. Unfortunately, the woman he tries to test its effects on leaves quickly, noting his foul stench. Moments later, Jasmine runs into Arnold and asks him for help with her car. Sensing the attractive woman's flirty behavior, Arnold borrows Sam's phone before eagerly leaving with Jasmine. As Sam watches them, Stephanie confronts him about their contest. Sam realizes he needs to get back to the dorm room to watch Arnold's feed, so he comes up with an excuse to exit the library. Outside, Jasmine and Arnold walk toward her car. She leads him through the park, finally confessing that she doesn't own a vehicle and only lied because she wants to do it with him. Jasmine makes him undress, and Arnold deftly positions Sam's phone on the snowy ground to record everything. After discovering Arnold's fantasy, Jasmine changes to a leather outfit to excite him. As they make out, Jasmine reveals her true alien form to mate with him. She successfully inserts her tentacle into his mouth, freezing Arnold in the process. Meanwhile, a horrified Sam watches the alien attack his friend, but the live feed is obscured and ultimately freezes. When the temperature around the gadget increases dramatically, Sam quickly searches and finds the paralyzed Arnold and tries to call for help. However, when he returns, Arnold's body is gone. Hours later, the police reprimand Sam for making a false report to the authorities. He insists that Arnold is in danger, but the officer dismisses his concerns and claims that his friend probably just left. The following day, the friends review Arnold's video feed. They wonder what caused the phone to freeze instantaneously, and how such an attractive woman could immediately know what Arnold's fantasy was. Despite their friend's unknown whereabouts, Henry adds the encounter to Arnold's score on the board. Later at the library, Nick tries to convince Sam to do it with Stephanie because he bet on him to win. Sam reiterates that they're just friends, but Nick points out how she's never claimed the same status for their relationship. Meanwhile, Professor Buckton is surprised to find Luke studying in his classroom and tells him to get some rest. He spots Luke's sketches of the decoys and asks what compelled him to create such detailed art. Luke divulges that he's seen these creatures, prompting Professor Buckton to remember his conversation with Constance about his TA being paranoid. At the library, Peter unsuccessfully flirts with a woman, only to come across Delia, who disarms him with her charm. Peter takes her to the football stadium, where she changes her outfit to a schoolgirl to match his fantasy. Meanwhile, Sam and Stephanie are walking through the park, where she recounts bumping into Luke. Stephanie then narrates Luke's visions of the aliens coming from an icy planet, and how they're susceptible to heat because of their natural habitat. Unprompted, she then tells Sam she plans on dyeing her hair blonde, and asks him if he'd like it. All Sam can muster in response is sheepish perplexity. Back in the stadium, Peter turns on the heater just as they're about to do the deed. Delia immediately notices the increasing temperature and her exposed skin burns, causing her to run away. Later, Angeline, another decoy, makes out with a male student on the snowy ground. Luke goes to the hospital to speak with Dr. Geisner, but the nurse says she isn't on duty. Unbeknownst to him, Constance and Jasmine are watching. Jasmine wants to take him for a mate, but Constance refuses because he already knows too much about their kind. In the dorm room, Peter describes what happened between him and Delia, surprised by how the woman seemingly knew what his fantasy was. He also notes that she was allergic to heat. Sam heads to Stephanie's dorm, conveying everything Peter and Arnold experienced. However, she doesn't believe him and dismisses his suspicions. The pair then breaks into Luke's room, where they find newspaper clippings of missing men and sketches of the aliens. Stephanie opens the window, claiming the room is too hot, which Sam finds suspicious. Meanwhile, Luke is reading through the missing persons articles at the library when Constance spots him. She then makes her way to Professor Buckton's office, where he finds him studying Luke's drawings, remarking how one of the sketches resembles her. Feeling the professor growing wary, Constance asks to have a drink with him, to which he obliges and searches for a bottle of liquor in his office. While Professor Buckton has his back turned, Constance changes into a more revealing outfit to beguile the older man. After foraging for newspaper articles, Luke goes back to his room to shave. He overhears Arnold's disappearance on the news and realizes that the decoys have truly returned. He rushes to Dr. Geisner's office and informs her that the aliens are back and he believes they've set their base somewhere in the hospital. However, she doesn't believe him and attributes his ramblings to him not taking his meds. Luke accuses the beautiful woman of being a decoy, but Dr. Geisner assures him she isn't and insists he take his medication. After his session, Luke meets Sam in the lobby, who tells him he wishes to speak about the alien women. Sensing it to be a prank, Luke becomes angry, but Sam swears he believes him. him. Luke then explains that the aliens can be disguised as anyone. When he suddenly sees Constance, he chases after her and is about to throw a pot of hot coffee at the woman when Sam and a security guard stop him. Geisner intervenes and has Luke detained as a patient. Constance says she won't be pressing charges, thanks her, and leaves. Luke tries to get Sam to vouch for him, claiming that he also saw the decoys. However, Sam doesn't speak up, leading Dr. Geisner to inject him with a tranquilizer. As he's being dragged away, Luke screams for Sam not to trust anyone. Later that night, while his friends get ready to attend a Hawaiian-themed party, Sam reviews Arnold's video feed. In the hospital, Geisner visits a bound Luke in his room and begs him to cooperate with her. However, Luke insists that Constance is a decoy, which prompts her to keep him restrained in his bed. Sam manages to sneak past security dressed as a janitor. He enters Luke's room and apologizes for not sticking up for him earlier. At the party, Peter and Henry view their options to catch up with Nick's score. In the hospital room, Sam untethers Luke, and they use the laundry chute to escape. Finally, outside the building, Luke warns Sam not to look the decoys in the eye because they can hypnotize their victims. They rush to the party, where they attempt to single out the aliens by searching for women who lack belly buttons. Luke's surefire way to tell the decoys apart from humans. A blonde woman tries to make out with Henry, but when she opens a window because she finds the room too hot, he pushes her off him and runs away. The surprised woman fixes her clothes over her torso with a belly button, revealing that the woman was human and Henry blew his chance with her. Meanwhile, Jasmine leads Nick away from the party. Sam scans the room for decoys when he spots a blonde Stephanie dancing with several men. Sam is about to turn around, but Luke wants him to check her, especially since the ones they least suspect are the likely aliens. Stephanie invites a flustered Sam to dance. He tries to check her belly button discreetly, but she takes it as flirting, so she embraces him instead. Stephanie then takes Sam outside to cool off. Meanwhile, Peter and Henry watch a live recording of Nick hooking up with Jasmine. They're about to do the deed when tentacles sprout from her torso. The watching men scream in fright at what they're witnessing. Stephanie tries to kiss Sam, but he's too busy looking for her belly button. Upon seeing it, he cheers for joy, confusing her. Luke appears and explains that they were checking if she was a decoy. Stephanie feels betrayed that they would suspect her and believed Sam actually liked her. Peter interrupts to call them back inside to watch Nick being attacked by Jasmine. They now wholeheartedly believe decoys exist and scramble to save their friend. Nick is fighting for his life when they arrive to save him. Jasmine, in her alien form, sees them and immediately bolts. Luke thinks they should hunt all of them down to keep them from propagating. They agree to his plan and help a stunned Nick to his feet. They head back inside, where Luke explains that singling them out might be too difficult because of their intense charm. However, Stephanie informs them that she won't be so easily fooled because she's also a woman, and they return to the party to find more decoys. Moments later, Stephanie spots Delia in the crowd. She and Angeline escape, but not before unhinging a door and throwing it in the group's direction to hinder them. Before heading to the hospital, the group arms themselves with flares, homemade flamethrowers, and Molotov cocktails. In the hospital basement, they split into two groups to cover more ground. Before proceeding, Sam kisses Stephanie, finally owning up to his feelings for her. They then search for the morgue, when Delia suddenly grabs Sam and locks him in a room to attack him. Stephanie kicks down the door and uses a flamethrower at her. However, the can runs out of fuel, giving Delia a chance to attack them. Henry takes her down by plunging a lit flare into her torso. Meanwhile, Nick finds Angeline, who begs him not to kill her. She tries to make out with him when she sees how vulnerable he is, but Peter arrives and aims the flamethrower at her. The flame causes Angeline to fall back into the electrical panel, ending her life. Elsewhere, Henry separates from Sam and Stephanie. The pair locate the morgue and investigate, unaware that Jasmine has spotted them. Stephanie sees a sheet-covered body on a table. When she lifts the cover, Jasmine jumps out and assaults her. Sam tries to help her, but is thrown across the room by Jasmine's tail. He quickly gets back up and pushes Jasmine into the oven. The cunning alien transforms back to her human form to trick him into letting her go. Sam resists her charms and turns the oven on, burning her as revenge for Arnold. Upstairs, Dr. Geisner finds Luke's room empty and hears noises through the vents, so she runs down to the basement to inspect. When the couple are about to leave, Constance, in her menacing alien form, intercepts and chokes them. Luke is about to throw a Molotov cocktail at the creature, but Constance subdues him and pushes him up against the wall. Geisner rushes to the morgue and is shocked to discover Constance in her true form. She then stabs the alien with a syringe when it attempts to mate with Luke. Constance staggers back from the pain and turns to Sam and Stephanie instead. Before she reaches the couple, Luke sets her on fire, finally killing her. Sam and Stephanie then share a kiss while their friends cheer them on. Seconds later, the group hears sounds coming from another room. Inside, they discover the bodies of Professor Buckton, Arnold, and the other missing men whom the decoys kept alive in the cold room. Suddenly, alien offspring burst from the unconscious men's chests, and the group screams for their lives.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.